You die once and suddenly you're not invisible. Explore the story of Heed, who was a corpse for a while but is back to life and trying to learn about just what had happened, only to discover the story is far stranger than that. Inspired by manga, Alter X Artifact is a new LGBTQ+ webcomic for mature readers revolving around magic and political espionage. This comic features fantastic elements, gripping storytelling, and impressive visuals that pull you into the strange but fascinating world of the comic. Alter X Artifact explores themes of magic, dreams, and relationships, all while deftly weaving a compelling mystery with eye-catching visuals. You're still in time to enjoy the exciting prologue as well, but you gotta hurry over on to the website. So, if you're looking for your next weekly webcomic read, you need to go to alterxartifact.com. That is alterxartifact.com. Now back to the show.
I am recording.
Keeping you on your toes.
You burping bastard, you uncouth son of a bitch. Hello and welcome to Supernatural Selection. I'm your host, Kevin Heyman. With me this week is the rude, the crude, Mike the skeptic. Mike, how are you burper?
Excuse me?
Okay. You doing all right, though? God dang. Okay.
I'm sorry, I just threw down a snack because I was starving.
Yeah, no, we kind of fucked around with 3D printer shit and found out.
Yep.
And we have Mr. David Davis. David, how are you today?
Doing okay. I mean, I could probably try to summon a fart, but I don't want to
really
do that
hope
right
you
now.
don't, because I don't want you to have to go change your pants.
Yeah, don't gamble like that.
Never trust a fart.
I've learned the later I get in life is the more or the less and less you trust farts.
Oh yeah, no.
As a teen and early 20, I would just let them fly whenever. And nowadays it's like,
Yeah,
you're sitting there analyzing it before you let it go. It's like,
yeah.
Is this? I think this is okay. Good. Whew.
Is this going to require a shower later?
Yes. Or now.
No, or you're just sitting there talking to people and you're joking. And you're, ha 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 ha. Excuse me, and then you go to the bathroom.
Very, very stone-faced, very
Yes,
serious.
very quick, very stiff walk.
You're walking like those the robots we build, that have the baby shit in its diaper walk.
Yes, the baby shit its diaper walk. You walk like Awesome-O.
Yeah, you're back straight, just only moving from the hips down.
Your knees are the only things moving.
Yes.
Doing the stanky leg the whole way down.
You're just
Welcome to Supernatural Selection.
Yes, this is so great. So, guys, before we get started, call for new advertisers. We're looking for advertisers. We have a prospective advertiser for the middle of the show. We are looking for someone new for the beginning of the show, and we can have after-show spots as well. So, and we can have multiple advertisers in those spots. We're shameless. We're whores.
And we should note that these are the $2 slots for creative folks.
Yes,
so
for
if you have a
independent
book
creators.
or a Kickstarter, if you do a comic, if you do a podcast, whatever, we are happy to promote it because we believe in independent projects here.
Absolutely. Please advertise to our ever-growing and expanding fan base across platforms.
Also, Raycon, if you're listening, I will take some headbuds. So
Headbuds.
Yeah, Northrop Grumman, if you're listening, we will not let you advertise. So also, I'd like to put a call out for more reviews. We've got a few reviews up, and we do appreciate them. My favorite is the one that says, "This show is not terribly good." So either leave us a 5-star review or a 1-star review. Don't leave us anything in between. So all in or all out, buddy. We will read them at the beginning of the show. I check weekly for new reviews. So if you would like to review us and hear that read on the air, we will happily do that. And lastly, I don't know, call for drinks. Mike, you get your podcasting juice ready?
Always.
David, you get anything?
I have water.
I also have water because I am, as of today, exactly 9 months sober.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that out there. I'm pretty proud of that. So,
You should be. That's great news.
yeah. And David, you had something you wanted to bring up here in the housekeeping?
Yeah, so very important person in the conspiracy field passed away recently.
Yeah.
Johnny Hardwick, the voice of Dale Gribble in King of the Hill, a.k.a. Rusty Shackelford. Rest in peace, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah, heard about that.
I hate that,
Yeah.
but, you know.
Yeah, it sucks because they were working on new King of the Hill, so...
Yeah, do we know if they got anything recorded, or...
I don't know, man. I don't know, but, like, I mean, number one, that's not the most important thing. Like, number one,
No.
like, it's a tragedy that he's gone.
I
but,
know,
like,
it's terrible, but, like,
but,
you know...
Dale Gribble's an icon.
Dale Gribble was the whole reason I watched that show.
I love that show in general,
Like-
but yeah, Dale is the highlight.
When he went nuts and almost redid the fucking bell tower shooting in that one episode... I mean, goddamn, dude.
Pocket sand.
Yep.
There's one scene I remember where he's in his basement because he's got that conspiracy basement, and
Of course
he has
he does.
he has like a turtle, and he takes like a power waxer, and he power waxes the turtle's shell, and the turtle goes flying. And that just sticks in my head. And
Yeah,
I don't remember
no.
the context of any of it. I think it actually opened an episode, but
Yeah.
like that's one of my fondest memories of the show.
You know, we're going to have to talk about that on Distraction Hole this week.
Oh, for sure.
Yep. So, speaking of this week, boys, I'm going to talk about something, excuse me, that I've literally been waiting to do since episode 1. This has been on the docket since the get-go, back when this was going to be Dark Thoughts with Ted Netherwood. With my old porn name. Today,
Back in the days when you did, hardcore horse porn.
No, but when I did do repo work and I needed a research name for digging up stuff and like calling places incognito, that was the name I used.
Living
Yeah.
down incognito.
Down incognito. So this week.
I don't think you ever told me that.
Oh, yeah, that's my alternate.
I know the Ted Netherwood.
yeah.
I didn't know about the Dark Thoughts with Ted Netherwood.
Oh yeah, no, that was an article I used to write for Haunted MTL. And it kind of morphed into this, and I'm happy it did.
You have this whole secret life you never tell me about.
Oh,
Kevin.
I told you a little bit, but it didn't matter. I was also depressed at the time. Anyway, the point is,
You're
this
depressed
week,
now.
Yeah, now I want to Anyway, we're going to talk about the Dogon Tribe in Africa.
Oh boy, nothing like three white guys talking about African tribes.
Hey, okay, first off, we're going to try to be talking about this as sensitively as we can because there's a lot of white people bashing in this episode, okay?
Good,
So
good.
we're
We
going to
deserve it.
appropriate the hell out of them.
No, well, okay, come on. I'm trying to do some justice here after the appropriation. Now, before going into the topic at hand, Mike, David, what did you two know about the Dogon before going into this, before I talked your ears off about it?
Nothing.
Okay.
This
Wasn't
is
it
not
one
a-
of? Oh,
I was just going to say, it's not a real blip on my radar, for sure.
Right, no, that's understandable.
wasn't it one of the dragons in Game of Thrones?
No.
No, that's Drogon. I know, I'm kidding. But no,
Okay.
I don't really know a lot about them aside from references I've heard. And even then, I can't say I know that much. Like, I've heard of them because you and I
Right.
have talked about this stuff before.
Oh, yeah.
I've watched my fair share of Ancient Aliens, and I've
I'm
heard them mentioned.
Right, I'm sure they mention it on there, and we'll address that. Now, I personally find the subject fascinating. It's bordering, in fact, it kind of jumps over on what we've been calling bookstore racism, but kind of almost not quite, maybe.
Now,
Perhaps?
how would you describe bookstore racism? Say this is like someone's first episode.
Okay, if you're not familiar with the idea of bookstore racism, it's the idea that another culture typically with brown skin, has done something in the past, like, say, built pyramids or giant stone monuments or giant Olmec heads in the jungle or the Nazca lines, looked at it and said, no, ain't no way brown people did that. It was aliens.
And then they write books about it.
And then they write books.
The paranormal aisle. Of any
Exactly. Exactly. And then they get a fucking show on History Channel. But nonetheless, the Dogon are an interesting subject for their religious beliefs, yes. But after doing the reading, I really find the history of them and just their culture in general to be worthy of study. And I'm really glad I looked into this. So join you, won't we? Now, sorry, had to throw an MST reference in there. So,
right.
Our sources this week are In Search of The Dark Star, which is a 1970s paranormal TV show hosted by Leonard Nimoy. I highly recommend you check it out. I've got a link to it in the doc this week. And Nimoy's 70s porn stash is like totally on point in this thing. If you want to hear Leonard Nimoy talk about the paranormal, this show is for you. Also, the History Channel, of course, brought the show back, and I thought it was hilarious because they got Zachary Quinto to host it.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, new Spock.
Now they can get whoever's on Strange New Worlds.
Ethan Peck.
Ethan Peck, yeah.
Yeah.
Have both of them team up.
Oh, my God, double team Spock. We just launched a
Now
thousand
you're just...
ships.
Yeah, you're putting
This
together
is-
a fanfic there.
This is slash fix.
A transporter accident gives a little extra Spock when the crew needs it most.
Mr. Spock.
Hot.
Yes, Mr. Spock. I'm going to ear your butt.
Hot Spock on Spock action.
Oh, my God. All right, the second...
One of them's Mr., one of them's Doctor.
Oh, wow, this is sick. All right, so the second source is the Dogon Wikipedia article, which is actually extremely in-depth,
In-depth.
highly researched, really well done. I recommend reading it.
It's funny how great the crank shit articles are on Wikipedia.
Sure.
Like the weird woo-woo articles, like how in-depth they are.
Oh, and this is not even... it mentions what we're going to talk about in passing. It's actually highly detailed information about the culture.
It's just someone like, oh my God, I have a platform finally.
Yeah, no, and no one can do anything. Thank you. All right, also, our third reference is the Dogon from Encyclopedia Britannica, which I threw them in because I was like, hey, let's do something that's not Wikipedia. And it's not user-submitted, so, you know.
A real encyclopedia.
Yeah. And our fourth one is, I didn't really use this that much, but the Akan, Other Africans, and the Sirius System, Egyptian and Sumerian Gods in African Culture by Kwame Adapa, who is actually a member of the Dogon Tribe, which is tangentially related to the Dogon, with similar belief systems to an extent, similar language, which the language is really fascinating because it's not really technically related to any of the surrounding tribes. It's like they got their own thing going on.
Well, go on.
Yeah, well, Kwame Adapa's book is, I don't know how to put it. He's a native that bought into the bookstore racism, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah, no, and he is like super excited. I've never read a source book with that many exclamation points.
That's kind of sad.
It really kind of is. I don't really recommend it as a resource, but if you want to read something, you know what? I don't even recommend it, period.
As entertainment?
Nope, not even as that. I read it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk a little bit about the history of the Dogon. So, it's kind of hard to try and nail down just where the Dogon originated originally. What? No.
Oh.
They've been in their current home in Mali in West Africa for over 1,000 years. And they make their home at the Bandagara Escarpment near the Niger River. And I've heard someone else pronounce it Niger River. I don't know how to actually say it. I learned Niger.
So Niger has been in the news
Niger.
a lot lately, and they keep saying Niger, which I agree with you. When I was coming up in social
Yeah.
studies and stuff, they would say Niger. But I think Niger is because it is French.
Yeah, I also feel like that's also like when you're watching the news and they say enchilada instead of enchilada.
Yeah, well, yes, but it's also trying to separate the hard G out.
Right. Nice. Okay, that's true. That's fair
but
because we
It's
had a lot of people.
safety element.
We had some people really mispronounce that in my school.
Yes, no, I look, I went to the same school, so I know how that went.
Here's a spoiler: it wasn't a mispronunciation. They were very
Yeah,
much
no.
aiming for that.
Yeah, they said the things they heard from the dinner table.
Yes. Okay. Well, anyway, they've been. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I interrupted too, but like I said, it is It is a French colony,
Okay.
so Niger would be at least what's the term?
Niger.
No, the colonial, like colonizer, correct?
Yes. Okay. Well, do we want to go with Niger or Niger?
I don't know.
How about we go with Niger just because I feel safer?
There we go.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
We're
Three
agreeing.
white guys agree
Niger.
we should go with Niger.
Should not get in trouble. So, again, they make their home at the Bandiagara escarpment near the Niger River and have been there for over 1,000 years.
Do you want to tell us what an escarpment is? Because you had to.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
I didn't know if that was later in the
It's
notes
in
or
here.
not.
It's in the doc.
Okay.
The Dogon came to Mali fleeing persecution by the followers of Islam because of their unwillingness to convert. Yep, we're spot on that one so far. Now, their origins prior to this are apparently from ancient Egypt. And there is some evidence due to language and religious remnants that they may have started in ancient Sumeria with the dawn of human civilization. And we'll talk more about their religion soon because that's kind of the point of the episode.
Okay.
But before we do move on, Mike,
Yes.
do you guys know what an escarpment is? Because I didn't.
You told me earlier, but I will not say anything.
Okay, it is a giant fucking slope where level land drops to another level, typically caused by erosion or tectonic. See, we're already learning here today.
Now, see, I knew it as like a landscaping term, but what is geography other than God's landscaping? Am I right?
You know what? That's a shirt.
Just it's elemental landscaping over time.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is either. Sorry, you probably just heard me open my wallet. There's something I'm pulling out for later.
Why do you have so many condoms in there?
It's not a condom. It ain't a condom.
Kevin, that double X Magnum ain't fitting. You're just stroking your ego there,
Yeah,
buddy.
I need it for my Magnum dong. So anyway, the Bandiagara escarpment was a perfect place for the Dogon to settle. It was defensible, and the land was good enough for farming because it was so close to the Niger River. Mm-hmm. It provided a perfect place to settle and to defend themselves if the Muslims showed up again. In fact, the Dogon have been persecuted for a very long time, and it's led to a lot of their religious ceremonies and art being completely hidden or flat out lied about for centuries with outsiders, which will come into play later.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like we see a lot of that with diasporic communities. Things like magic and folklore that are preserved defensively, like
hoodoo.
Okay, so yeah, or voodoo actually. Because I am going to do an episode.
You're both.
Well, okay. We'll cover that when I actually do a voodoo.
Okay,
episode.
you can correct me when you've got the books.
Yes. Okay. Well, I do have the books anyway. So I'm not the expert here. I know that I just made myself sound like one there.
Okay.
But I think a lot of this kind of like defensiveness can be attributed to the fact that so much of what they pass down can be recorded in conversation rather than require a lot of written text or physical evidence. So it's easier to kind of keep it hidden,
right?
Especially like when you have, say, colonial figures who come in.
Oh, yeah, like the French or the Belgians.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Yeah, no, exactly. So there's actually a lot to learn about them as a people, and I really kind of wish this was an anthropology podcast right now, but it's not. What I will say is that growing grain, one of their staples, of course, is seen as a part of their religious ceremonies almost because their gods brought them the knowledge of how to grow grain.
Man, I'll tell you what. Some of the most fun classes I ever took were anthropology classes. So if you want to sneak in more anthropology, I know I'll be entertained.
Oh, cool. Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind. But, like, speaking of Dogon religion, which, again, is kind of the point. In 1933, French anthropologists came upon the Dogon preparing for a ritual, and they were allowed to film it. They were told that this ritual was for a very important man who had died, but this was a lie.
Now, do you want to know how they knew the French anthropologists were coming?
How?
Oh,
Well, they just heard that for miles.
Yeah,
Yes.
and, French are just doing that,
Do you know what is a
Constantly.
marzipan?
oui,
Oh,
oui,
do you-
baguette,
Do you know what is an almond?
brie cheese.
I was going to say the man dying was a lie, but also the cake was a lie.
Yes. I just want to go on record. I don't think we have any listeners from the country of France, and
Good.
I got personal beef with the French.
Beef bourguignon.
So if you're from the UK, hey, welcome. Let's go shit on the French. So, anyway, it was not a funeral ceremony. They do have a very elaborate funeral ceremony that actually there's one they do, and then like up to 4 years later, they do a second one to allow the grief to have passed. It's interesting. So, anyway, this ritual that they were performing is actually called the Sigi, and it is a link back to their first ancestors. They only perform it once every 60 years, and it celebrates the meeting of their people with a people known as the Numos or the Nomos.
Wow, so these French guys were like super lucky to come upon this, like
Incredibly
a
lucky.
once in 60 year, like basically a once in a lifetime.
Yeah, literally.
Just sitting there with their butter
Just-
and baguette.
they
and
showed
smoking
up.
their cigarettes.
Yeah, they show
Waffles.
up with their berets on, and these guys are carving the masks for the most important ceremony of
their
their
lives.
culture.
Yeah, of basically everybody's lives.
Yeah.
Because even the youngest ones would probably be
Oh,
close to
Mike.
dying by the time, it came around again.
When it happened in modern times, Mike, no one alive had seen it.
that's
It
what I'm
was passed down.
That's what I'm saying. For
Yeah.
these, kind of subsistence, cultures, 60 is like basically the limit
Oh.
of their lives.
At the time, their lifespan, a lot of them did not live 60 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
this is like,
This was it's insane how lucky they were to come on this. Now, and I'm going to be calling them the Nomos throughout.
not the,
I've
not
seen
the
it-
Nimoys.
No, that was the narrator of the special. Now, the Numos is what I've seen some things calling them, but I see Nomos in most places. So we're going to go with the Nomos near the Niger. So, these creatures, whose name in the Dogon language is associated with water, were amphibians who had snake-like lower bodies, but man-like upper bodies, and they came from the stars.
So they were
Nagas?
Nagas. Yes.
Yes. They're basically aquatic Nagas. Aquata Naga.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen plenty of
Yeah.
things where the Nagas were in water.
Oh,
You missed a very clear pun here.
Oh, did I?
Manaconda.
My Manaconda. Yeah, okay, that's fair. I'll let that one slide. Anyway, they
They tend to slither.
Yes, that too. So the Nomos taught them the ways of agriculture and astronomy and some anatomy, and they gave them 365 mystic symbols without explanation that they were to ponder over to learn the mysteries of life.
That's like a symbol of the day calendar.
It really is, and I find it interesting that it's exactly 365, given we know that the what is it, like, the actual time is like 365.7 days or something like that?
It's 365 and what, a quarter?
I think so. So that's
like every 4 years is a leap year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
The Earth rotation around the sun is 365.25
and some change. Yeah.
Days.
So, now the ceremony itself involves lots of masks with really interesting patterns sticking up over the wearer's head. That it's like a straight shaft with these weird, like, L shapes coming off of them.
Hot.
You can...
You said shaft. I mean,
okay, fair.
I can dig it.
Thank you. That's what I was waiting for. So, and I highly recommend you look up Dogon masks and see some of these. But they're wearing the masks, and their heads are being whipped around in a circle as they all dance around a central mask wearer with a big fucking mask that's like 12 feet tall. And
so it's like the DK mode in GoldenEye?
Sorta.
They have antenna.
Yes.
It's like they have, TV aerials on the
I
masks.
know. That's the crazy thing. Then the dude in the center lowers the mask to vertical. Like his head, facing the ground so it's sticking straight out. And he spins with the top of the mask making an orbit of the wearer. And you can find video of this dance online. It is pretty fucking cool to watch.
Now, I know that you're going to be getting into this, but this also sounds pretty cosmic with so many orbits going on in this whole thing.
Yes. Yes, it does, and that's the point. All right, though. It's all well and good, and probably to be expected from most religions that, their God came from the sky. I mean, what God didn't come from the sky? Our God, the Christian God speaks from the sky. He was a storm god from fucking Babylon originally. The Native Americans talk about the spirit in the sky. I mean, that song talks about the spirit in the sky. But, that's a given. But the Dogon have one up on most of us. They know what star their gods came from. Sirius B.
Surely you can't be serious, B.
I can be. And don't call me Shirley. They also
All right, Ruth.
Yes. Now, oh God, that's terrible. They also believe that there's a third star in the Sirius system, but there's been little evidence of that I'm comfortable pointing to. There's been some mathematical stuff, but that could also be, user error. So that's still in question. But most videos and specials, and this, I really need to get this out there, most videos and specials will say that Sirius B was discovered in the 1950s, which is after the French anthropologists came down and learned about Sirius in the 30s and 40s. But this is incorrect. Sirius, I looked it up, Mike, because I knew you would. Sirius B was actually discovered in the 1860s. It wasn't photographed until the 1950s.
Now, what did they call the star? Like, I don't think it would be Sirius B because that's, what the astronomers would call it. So
Right.
What name did they give it?
I looked this up again after you put that in the outline because I really needed to check. It is called Sigitolo, which translates to the Star of the Sigi, which is their ritual. So, they got a name for it.
Interesting.
Now, yeah, I know. So, and that's the whole thing about the Dogon. Everything I've read about them is really fucking interesting. I mean,
yeah, it's a lot of,
Yeah, I mean, they have some real problematic shit going on with their patriarchy, but but they've got weird caste systems.
But again, who doesn't?
Yeah, okay, that's fair. So the Dogon know a hell of a lot about astronomy for being where they are and for how long they've known about it. So here's some things they know. They know that Sirius B is a white dwarf and that it is extremely heavy. The terminology they use is that not all the creatures of the heavens and the earth could lift it. Which,
Well, that you could find the smallest celestial body, and that would still be true.
Yes, I know, but they're trying to imply that it is heavy. So, yeah. So the 60 years between the Sigi ritual represents, and this has been scientifically spotted, one orbit of Sirius B around its companion Sirius A, and is supposed to occur. The ritual is supposed to occur when it is at its closest point to Earth.
Can we just go back to you giving Mike that like?
Okay.
You need to do that more often because that's a lot of fun.
Okay.
I'm just saying
that was
that
really funny.
No, I understand, Mike. I understand. It's that's questionable, but you know the lore says that they know it's heavy. So
yeah, but
I'm sorry.
I know
anything is so heavy that
Yeah.
you can't imagine it. So.
Sure, but the
Well, did they mention it in a form of comparison to other heavenly bodies? Like, I feel like it's
I
baked
don't
into the
think-
statement that all the other heavenly bodies could not lift it.
I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I couldn't find really good sources on that, and I did look, trying to verify that. It kind of sounds like some confirmation bias
Yeah.
from white people. So they do know that it lies further away from Earth than the planets and the sun. They also have some very interesting cave drawings showing the elliptical orbit of it, which seems to match computer models, but again, that's open to interpretation, And the Sigi ritual, where the guy is spinning, is supposed to represent Sirius B orbiting Sirius A. Now,
Okay.
they also know that Earth and the other planets orbit the sun and not everything else orbiting the Earth. So, one up on the Greeks.
I thought the Greeks knew that.
Did they? Who was it that started geocentrism?
Well,
Was that the Romans?
So no, the Catholic religion decided that the Earth was the center,
Okay,
but it was
that's
known
fair.
well before that. That was a
That's fair.
Yeah.
religious.
Now, and-
There was this thing called the Dark Ages.
Yeah. Well, again, one of the things that I didn't get a chance to look into is what do other tribes believe? Mm-hmm. Do all of them believe that, or was just the Catholic Church that stupid?
no, the Catholic Church was self-interested in
Yeah.
thrusting
It was
geocentrism.
propaganda.
Yeah.
Propaganda.
Yep.
So they also have one of the symbols they use, and this is one of the ones left behind by the Nomo, is a circle within a circle that is associated with Saturn, which ancient alien theorists say represents Saturn's rings, which, okay, fair dinkum. A quick reminder also is that Saturn's rings aren't visible with the naked eye.
Yeah, and these are pretty interesting points that we'd take for granted today, but believing in and communicating this sort of stuff like 2,000 years ago is pretty impressive.
I mean, communicating it is pretty damned amazing, especially given the situation the tribe's in. Their only metalworking is like ironworking for arrowheads and stuff, and the
And
only
this
other
was in the 30s, right?
that
the
we
1930s?
we found out about it. Yes,
Yeah, so up through the 1930s, they were still kind of just doing ironworking.
right. And there's still things change, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but
Saturn's rings were discovered in 1610.
Okay, that's fair, and we're going to get to some of the cultural contamination stuff possibly later. So, but again, all this knowledge was supposed to have been brought by the Nomos 3,000 years ago. Now, a lot of this reminds me of ancient Sumer and Babylon. The real stories, though, not the Zechariah Sitchin bullshit. With the aliens getting pissed off because we were fucking donkeys. Because both of these cultures involve amphibious knowledge bringers from the stars. The Babylonians had a similar story with something that sounded remarkably like Numos. It's not exact. I didn't get a chance to look it all up, but it's kind of interesting. It goes back way further than you would think.
Yeah.
Now, If there's anything that speaks to the antiquity of this, it's that the masks that they make every 60 years are based on the oldest examples they can have. They hold on to. The Hogan, or their religious leader of each region, holds on to an original mask, with the oldest they have being aged at about 300 years. Which is a long goddamn time to hold on to a wooden mask. Now, if a mask finally falls apart, it's replaced, but again, they have masks and weavings of patterns with the symbols that go back 300 years or more for some of this shit. Not to mention oral traditions before any known cultural contamination. Known. Before anybody says anything.
So do they have, like, any transcriptions that are likely to be, like, the far older oral traditions? Like, how old are we talking regarding that?
Well, they say 3,000 years, so, you know.
Okay.
They're the only authority we have on how old this is.
Yeah, we kind of have to, like, take them at their word here for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know. It's at least 1,000 years old from when they first got down into the region. So, beyond that, who knows?
Okay.
Now, needless to say, the Dogon are, of course, one of the first cultures people point to when ancient aliens and ancient astronauts get brought up. Because the story on the surface paints a staggeringly strong portrait of aliens influencing human development in the ancient past.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I remember hearing about them on Ancient Aliens.
Exactly.
The more that you talk about this, yeah.
Right, and like I said, in the 70s, they had this I'm fucking in search of. And I saw that back on TLC, back when that show stood for the Learning Channel. So, we're going to take a quick break for ads. And when we come back, I will explain, with some of Mike and yours input, David, why all of this is probably bullshit.
Oh, man.
Kevin, you're doing my job for me. I have pretty much no role now on this show.
All right, we'll be right back. Hey, David, you know what makes our show great?
What's that, Kevin?
No ads. You know what would make it better?
What's that, Kevin?
Ads.
What if, and I'm just spitballing here, we do ads for independent creators at reasonable rates?
How reasonable?
Overly. How about $2 per episode pre-roll?
That is almost too reasonable.
Might as well go for it. Let's send everyone to the contact page for Supernatural Selection.
SupernaturalSelectionPod.com/contact?
Exactly. Just have them scroll down to the Advertise With Us section for more information.
That sounds great. Now let's record the ad.
Kevin?
Yes, David?
We just did.
Whoa. And we're back. And before I get started with this next part, where we hear from professional skeptics and get to my personal theory, Mike, what do you think about this? What's your theory so far?
I mean, it's kind of hard to swallow. I mean, not to discount a culture,
right?
But I don't know if I'm being presented with all the real facts of this culture. It sounds like a lot of stuff is being colored and,
that's
interpreted
fair.
In a way that might not be accurate or the whole truth. That's just me, not, just going by what I've heard so far.
No, that's fair. And bear in mind, what I've presented you so far has been the lore of the thing.
Yeah.
As presented by Ancient Aliens. And now the thing is, we're about to get into some professional rebuttals of what I've talked about. And I actually have put in some rebuttals to those rebuttals. in here, and which means, Mike, you can give some rebuttals to my rebuttals of these rebuttals.
We're just going all down the buttle hole.
You're going all up in the buttle hole. So, first off, the biggest thing to debunk is the whole idea that the fact that we have known about Sirius B since the 1860s throws one argument of the ancient aliens crowd right out the window. We did not hear about Sirius B from the Dogons and then confirm it in the 1950s. All right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I need to get that out there because that is real easy to just Google now. Now, I understand in the 70s and 80s it wasn't that easy to figure out, but now, here we are. There is a case to be made for cultural contamination here with the fact that it was discovered so early. That may be at some point the news managed to sneak down into West Africa at some point in the 70 years between the discovery of Sirius B and the contact with the French anthropologists. Now, personally, I don't know how much I believe that. There's some real specific information to have been carried down by a missionary, brought up in polite conversation, and then filtered through into roughly 600,000 people across dozens of individual tribes without a centralized governing body, and then working its way into, all that stuff, especially when 300-year-old masks and older symbols are thrown in. Now, Mike, I want you to give me some thoughts on that.
So it sounds like they already were pretty interested in, celestial bodies and astronomy. So maybe they specifically sought out that knowledge.
Like they were asking about Sirius?
And new people that showed up, they would ask, what do you think of these stars? And, someone just happened to know, modern, at the time, information about those.
See, I like that theory because what I heard from a NASA scientist on the In Search Of special was, it is a coincidence. I'm like, what? Fuck you.
Well, so the thing is, anthropologists aren't astronomers. I know that people can be multiple things, but the odds of having an astronomy enthusiast anthropologist relay all of this info and not playing the most expansive game of telephone ever feels, pardon the pun, astronomical.
Well, what's the most likely scenario? Someone just happened to know this and told them, or Naga aliens told them.
I don't think it's an either or here.
I think there's another option here.
Yeah,
and we'll get into that later. But I do agree. I don't think it was space lizard men.
Yeah, no, I'm not on the space lizard man camp, but I'm also not in this okay, we the odds of having that exact sort of person with that knowledge in a field that it's outside of there.
I will say, though, that after Mike brought up the idea of them specifically looking for information about Sirius, I'm willing to concede that point as being very possible. That
could be the third option. Maybe there was the enthusiast who knew a little bit about astronomy, had a book with him or something.
And it was it was sometime between 1860 and 1933. That's a lot of time for somebody who happened to be an astronomy enthusiast. So
and maybe just kind of super wild speculation. This is just me
pants on head
spitballing here.
Oh wait, no, I cover the pants on head. Stuff.
Missionaries like this would frequently come back, right? They wouldn't just come once; they'd come, frequently.
Okay, that's fair.
So maybe they asked a bunch of questions. They're like, I don't know, but then they went back and got a book about it and told them.
Or maybe they picked it up from the Muslims.
Yeah, I mean,
because they were very scientifically oriented.
So here's an example I like to think about whenever I think of dissemination of information. Think back to elementary school. There are so many things that aren't in books, like how to make those paper fortune telling things.
I never learned those.
You had but you've seen kids at school.
Of course, I saw them. I just assumed they were wizards.
That angular S symbol.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that is
So-
that is a mimetic hazard.
But those things were not in media at the time, were not in books, but somehow disseminated to 90% of American school children.
Right.
Just via osmosis, via, kids transferring schools and cultural dissemination. So I don't think that, any human information that is known could not make it to except for those ones, the ones that shoot at airplanes with arrows every time they fly too low.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Except for those that are obviously hostile and shunning outside information, I can't see that it's not some form of cultural osmosis.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
At least entertain the possibility.
Yeah, no, I'm
not going to sit here and say
I'm
that
totally
that
entertaining that possibility.
that is specifically how it happened. I'm just saying
Right.
that's the most likely explanation.
Sure.
It's just a bunch of factors, and it's like really complex. And again, I'm just thinking about the odds of like all these little interconnected elements.
But now that Mike has said that, it does make sense to me because I'm a huge fan of James Burke's connections, and that is kind of how history works.
Well, and then we do talk about like the Muslim influence on the culture, and then more than likely, like astronomy was something that was in the Muslim world. So,
Right.
like, there's elements of that combined with other osmosis. So again, it's all these different factors, but it's just wild to think about.
Right. Now, there's a second point to be made about all this, and that is when modern anthropologists and researchers have come into the area and asked the Dogon about it because it's so goddamn famous now, they get a wide range of answers, guys. Some Dogon say that the French brought the idea of Sirius B to them and they just took it.
Okay.
Some have told researchers that they actually worship Venus and they have no idea what the fuck this Sirius B thing is. And still others act like they have no idea what anyone's talking about. No, man. What the fuck? No, fuck you.
Most just want you to go away.
This is completely true unless you have money.
And that's also complicated with the initial thing of them lying about their rituals. So it's like, what is the truth with them? Like, and it could also be like, say that there's all these tribes. Maybe they're not as tightly cohesive as has been,
I think that's also possible.
Presented.
But I also think a reason for part of that, this whole situation where they're telling all these different versions, is the Muslims. Now today, 35% of the Dogon are Muslim and 10% are Christian. And this is all because they have been persecuted the fuck out of.
Oh, yeah.
And the Dogon have to be careful about who they tell what because they are also very paranoid it's going to get back to the Muslims and they're going to come down and do something.
Well, if there's one thing Muslims and Christians are good at, it's persecuting non-Muslims and Christians.
Yes. Now, especially because these guys have been subject of jihads. I mean, like straight up jihads over the last 1,000 years.
And you don't think about it, but missionary work is basically a holy war without swords.
It's a non-violent holy war. Yes.
At best, it's scouting.
Yes. Shit. So remember, if you're a primitive tribe out there somewhere and you're somehow listening to this, if you see a guy with a Bible, run him through. So
I just run them off. I wouldn't say run them through. Just run them off.
I don't know. They did a pretty good job of filling that one dude with arrows on that island, but. Now, I also discovered recently that the Dogon have gotten to the point where they even keep their art away from visitors. They have become a very cautious people.
I mean, it's like the fucking British Museum, they got the sticky fingers, so like, you see a British person, like they want to take the museum.
Gimme. Yeah, I mean, even some of their ceremonies are now only performed for paying tourists. And I cannot explain to you how sad that makes me.
Not me. I mean, get your nut, guys.
Yeah, but
if you have some,
it's cheapened it in my mind.
No,
right?
if you have some, why do it for free when you can get paid? Kevin, you're an artist. You should know that, doing it for exposure is not going to put food on
You
the
die
but
of exposure.
Like, the only reason they do these is for money now, and it makes me think of Epcot.
Well, I mean, welcome to global capitalism. You see the same thing with a lot of like the global South nations where cultural practices have been commodified for tourist dollars.
Okay, fair. They're making money at it, but that doesn't mean I have to like it.
No, I mean, it sucks. It's part of the reality of living in this elven earth.
Yeah, it's like you can't be your culture anymore because it's your culture. You have to be your
just
culture
like,
to make money.
It's just like you have to monetize your hobbies.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what that's like at all.
Right?
Sitting here
Pretty
on a
soon you're going to start
podcast.
selling shit with your 3D printer.
You can you can be your culture, but if you can make some skrill at it, why not, go for that nut too?
Hey, can you do me a favor, Mike? I never want you to say skrill or nut again when in reference to making money, okay?
Can't guarantee that, bucko.
Okay, so again, whether I believe any of this on either side doesn't matter. What matters is I think there is enough information to say that these beliefs probably didn't come from space Nagas teaching ancient humans about bread and beer. So, where do I think it came from?
Time travelers playing a prank on conspiracy nerds.
God, I wish that was true.
Ghost monkeys.
I'll give you that.
The
I'll give
super
you that
spectrum.
one.
You think it came from the super spectrum?
You know what? That's good enough explanation. Show's over. Good night, everybody. No. So, gentlemen, at the beginning of this episode, I talked about the Dogon's possible origins going back to ancient Egypt and possibly earlier to Sumer. I'd like to revisit that now.
I figured we'd get to it sooner or later.
Oh, ooh, my sweet, sweet Sumer child.
Is this the Sumer of our discontent?
Oh, God. You just babble on and on and on. So, if there is one thing I've learned... Sorry, you said something?
Oh, no, I'm just applauding.
Oh, okay. If there is one thing I've learned about ancient civilizations from doing this show and just from research in general is that calling them primitive is a disservice to the ingenuity of our species. We come from a long line of not just the fastest and strongest survivors, but the smartest.
To paraphrase the recent musical episode of Star Trek, do you know what the odds are of all of us being here right now?
Not really. I'm bad at math.
But no, so I think there's a fine line to walk here to not fall into the, they're primitives.
Noble savage.
But yeah, all the other ways, the noble savage and,
right.
kind of the holding them on a pedestal.
No, I understand.
I'm
not saying they had floaty technology.
Yeah, I'm not like speaking to you directly. I'm just saying in general that, they're people. They, if they are, considered advanced for their time, well, it just means they figured shit out before other people.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Still, if one group of people could figure it out, another group of people could figure it out.
Which is exactly where I'm headed.
Yeah.
So,
I was just throwing that out there.
No, great. I'm glad you did, because Sumeria had a staggering knowledge of the heavens, guys.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they knew about Saturn's rings, as did Egypt. And they had staggering knowledge of the heavens in general. Mesoamerica had staggering astronomical knowledge. And honestly, so did a shit ton of ancient cultures. So instead of crediting aliens with that knowledge, I would like to put forward that maybe some brilliant wag created a telescope way, way back before Galileo, the cracker that he was, did.
Galileo the cracker is something new for the bingo card.
I'm saying that it's highly likely that oral astronomical traditions of the Dogon used for determining when to plant crops are merely a way for a culture to keep alive the knowledge that they thought was vitally important to them. When to plant grains, when the flood would come, how to survive.
That makes too much sense. It must have been aliens.
God damn it, David.
So that's very valuable, life knowledge.
Yes.
And that's the kind of stuff that can be figured out without
Sure.
super advanced. That's
But
seeing what works and what does.
Yeah.
That's just what we have a word for that, where you figure out stuff over time. That's evolution. That's
Sure.
just like knowledge evolution.
But one thing I didn't put in there because I wasn't sure if it was going to be relevant or not, if anybody would bring it up, the Dogon use Sirius as their guiding its position in the heavens. They use Sirius to spot, when we're going to do the planting, when we're going to do all this stuff. They use Sirius.
Mm-hmm.
But so by our relative, perception, all the stars in the heaven except for the planets are basically fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter which star you use as your guide. Just any of them, as long as you record and use that at the correct time. Like if it's in the correct,
exactly,
whatever is coming up over the horizon at a given time.
Yeah. I understand.
So Sirius, it could be Sirius, could be any of the other stars.
Yeah, it could be Polaris.
Sagittarius be, any of those.
But they use Sirius. And I am putting forward that this knowledge came from Sumeria, Babylon, your ancient civilizations that had astronomer kings,
Well, I mean, yeah, they had people that, they recorded, yes, the stars. But I don't think any of them were making telescopes, because that requires a glass making skill that has not been seen in, glass of that caliber would have been something very precious and very well preserved.
Well, maybe there was a Babylonian who was born with like really big anime eyes.
Oh my God.
So I don't think, I don't think there were any pre-Galilean telescopes per se, but they definitely kept very close records of, the stars and how they, coincided with,
things here on Earth.
Things here on Earth, yes.
Mm-hmm. So, but I think that's my theory, that it came from an ancient civilization like Sumeria. If you want to get crazy with it, maybe it was Atlantis. I'm not saying it was Atlantis, because I think that was bullshit too. In my things that are not, Atlantis is bullshit. But I am saying that whole cycles of history, we don't have details on these things. So it's extremely possible this came from there.
And I do believe that knowledge like this, can be very handy, even though if we don't know where exactly or why this kind of knowledge originated. Like, one of the things I find fascinating is some of the precepts in like Judeo-Christian and Islam. The
cleanliness.
The cleanliness stuff in, if you look at it, a lot of it coincides with our, knowledge of, we know pork nowadays.
Stamping down disease.
Pork is, a very unclean meat, if not handled correctly. So they obviously saw that, a lot of people that ate pigs got really sick. So they just said, no eating pigs because, they're unclean animals. The like veils and things like that. When we started masking for COVID, just, made me think
it clicked, yeah.
It's like, why wouldn't you, wear face coverings? They would probably found that when you wore face coverings, you got less sick because everybody is kind of keeping their shit germs to themselves.
And we've also talked about the fact that, like, the ancient Hebrew stuff with the Ark of the Covenant, it's like, a lot of this kind of sounds like anti-radiation stuff.
Yeah, and Muslims also have a very strong, hand washing culture because, that obviously cuts down on diseases.
Yeah. So, you see where I'm going, though.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, whether I'm right about the telescopes or not.
there is a lot of, maybe not. I just lost my train of thought, but
Woo woo.
it may not be for the reasons the text or the traditions say it's for, but it was started for a reason.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, that's like, yeah, exactly.
People don't start doing shit for just arbitrarily. Now it becomes, a religion. It
Mike,
becomes a.
Are you saying the wheel of time turns and ages come and pass, like
I'm
memory
just
that
no.
becomes legend and legend
I'm
fades to myth? And,
I'm just saying we do shit for. We're a very pragmatic species, so we start doing things more for a reason.
We are a ritualistic creature,
and then we start codifying that into religion just to make sure people do it.
Yeah.
And then, it just basically becomes, we just do it by rote then.
No, absolutely. And that's and that's how religion dies also. It becomes a tool because nobody's worshiping the God. They're just going through the motions. But we'll get into that in another episode.
But what if aliens?
But what if aliens, indeed? Now, speaking of that, Mike, David, you guys know me.
I thought I did, but I'm more and more questioning that.
Fuck you. You guys know I love the crazy shit.
Yeah.
I love reading about aliens and ancient legends and ghost monkeys and stuff like that. And I only say that because it pisses David off. The thing I don't love is believing lies. Especially not lies propagated by a false narrative that only white Europeans could have done anything.
Well, white Europeans also launched 2 world wars in the span of 30 years, so...
Hey, that's a pretty big deal.
Well, it's more of a war and a half. I mean, the first one never really ended.
It's technically one big war with a breather.
Yeah, we had a brief armistice, but it still kept going.
And I know that the last few episodes that I personally have done, I've done a surprisingly good job of debunking my own fucking topic, with apologies to Mike.
I might as well just hang it up.
Oh, no.
Next time I'm just gonna take a nap.
No, because we're gonna have a lot of fun on the next one. Now, it's just that looking into all this and finding the other explanations that don't involve aliens is so fucking easy. It shows how little the paranormal community wants to actually look into some of this.
Yeah, and so we've been using that term bookstore racism for a while now, and this topic is very much in line with it, and it's indicative of the larger issue with the paranormal and conspiratorial community for most of the 20th century.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we're leaving a lot of that behind now as it becomes obvious that some of these theories are meant to propagate, racist and ethnocentric ideologies, which came to a head with Hitler's Aryan notions, the Thule Society.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on the back of this growth to the very mindset to the mid to late 19th century, all of that Helena Blavatsky bullshit.
God,
Yeah, we're gonna have to go over that, but the fact is that a lot of this shit is still lingering and reflects poorly on people who want to explore the weird and mysterious. Because you want to start getting into this stuff, and it's like the ancient aliens thing really
it's
does a disservice to everybody.
It's like our own shameful little chick tracks. It really is. And I mean, human history is made up of all humans. And all humans have this amazing ability to do amazing things. And I feel like to believe otherwise is an insult to us as a species. And this has been my TED Talk.
Yay!
So, guys, give me your thoughts on this. How do you feel about the Dogon in general? The whole Dogon serious thing.
I'm even more confused than when we started.
What, seriously?
I mean, no, I'm not, but you just kept tugging with my emotions. At first you're throwing out all this wild, they're super, intelligent, got things from,
aliens.
Sexy space aliens.
I never said sexy.
I know.
Look, if you think snake butts are sexy, that's all you, buddy.
All Western depictions of Naga are hot.
Okay,
so,
that's fair.
So-
Every time we go looking up pictures in a Spooky Dice Bag to explain a creature, it's always got tits.
Now see,
So-
I think what Mike is saying here is he's got debunkery blue balls.
yes.
Okay, well, that's okay. I'll tell you what. Next episode,
Mike's gonna
I'ma
make
leave it
it
to
to
you,
completion.
I get to.
you're gonna blow your skeptic load.
Yes. Finally, full release.
Hot
Oh
foamy
my
skepticism sprayed all over.
Hot skeptic action.
Thick, ropey strands of
but, I mean-
skepticism.
Jesus Christ.
We're terrible.
But so there was a so okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. You know what I'm thinking, right?
No.
So you ending the way you did, you made me think of the fact that, a lot of these, obviously they probably would, refute this, but, this ethnocentric kind of, bullshit, they don't realize, but they would refute it, but white people are like not the first people.
Yeah, that's we're we're mutants.
You trace your lineage back far enough, you're brown.
No, I
Your
guarantee you the
ancestors were
first.
brown.
I guarantee you the first couple white Neanderthal babies were like bashed against the rocks. You know what I mean?
Oh God!
Oh, they play badminton with their fucking heads.
That is kind of sad to think that these first white kids came, white babies were born. They're like, this is
Demon!
This is a demon, unnatural hell spawn. Let's like
and
dunk
the bad
it in the
thing
river.
is, nothing in history has led that to be wrong.
No, I mean, yeah, that is kind of
Yeah, we
human-
kind of did ruin everything.
human, instinct, I guess, to shun the Weird.
Shun the white thing.
shun the unclean, shun the different.
For being racist, I find it funny how many evil things Lovecraft did were albinos.
Maybe he subconsciously
knew.
saw the evil of the honky.
The honky death.
Cosmic honky horror.
Oh my God, that's great. So, David, how about you? Thoughts on the Dogon Sirius thing?
It's still a super interesting topic. Again, like I keep thinking about like all the confluence of circumstances that result in whatever their lore became, and like how much of it
Right.
was something that developed from the Muslim world, how much of it came from their own experiences, how much of it may have been like osmosis through like Europeans coming into Africa. Again, it's again just I'm thinking of that Star Trek moment, think
What
of
are
the
the
odds.
odds?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, what are the odds of us three doing this podcast together?
Well, if you knew me, pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I think it was inevitable that I was going to be on here.
I was going to suck some of you in somehow.
Well, if I don't know, there I can think of a few things in my like early life that if they hadn't happened the way they did, I would not have moved here. So.
Oh, yeah, no. Like, if my mom had, had any guts about her, she would not have moved to Vicksburg to be in my grandmother's will, which she didn't end up in anyway, and I would not be here. We would not be doing this.
Yeah, like one decision by my parents, and we would have just stayed in Louisiana, and I would never have met Kevin. So
Yeah, God.
that's that kind of thing.
See, it worked out differently for me because I remember, like, when I was 5 years old, there was this very crazy albino blind man who came up to me and said something about, like, you're going to be doing a podcast in 30 years. So,
Wow, that dude, man, there's actually a really interesting Man in Black story that is shockingly
Kevin.
similar to that, so we're just going to leave that there
Kevin,
like a turd in the sink.
I think that's evidence for that you'll find a time machine sometime.
Oh, great, so I'm going to be blind. Fucking great.
You're gonna be old and blind. You're gonna time travel back.
You're
and
going to do a
convince-
it's going to be a
podcast,
3D
boy.
printer accident.
Your
God
13-year-old
damn it.
13-year-old David would be like, "What the fuck's a podcast?"
Oh my God. Well, that being said, thank you everyone for listening, guys. Did you have a good time on this one?
I had a
Yeah,
wonderful time.
Yeah, no, I don't look. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be here, right?
That's fair.
Like if I sat here hating it, I would probably just be playing like Minecraft or something right now.
Okay, that's fair. So, I want to. Before we go, I want to close with something. One of our coworkers, Juanito, up at work, he gave me a Latin phrase, and I adore this. I feel like this should be our show's Latin motto. Cogito ergo dolio. Dolio. Which is, I think, therefore I hurt. And I was like, well, that is our fucking Latin phrase.
Yeah.
Like, I need to put that in Latin under Enrique in the logo.
Yeah, we could do an Enrique seal.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah,
so
we do a Super Nat, coat of arms, and that's on
Yes.
the little
We'll put in our
banner.
We'll put it in our membership cards.
Oh yeah, I need to design some membership cards. So yeah, cogito ergo dolio. I think, therefore I hurt.
Or suffer.
It
when you were
was
talking
suffer
about it,
or hurt.
I looked it up, and Latin being very malleable, like its words have context and cultural, context, I guess.
Sure.
So it could be, but it could be. I think, therefore, I suffer.
Yeah, I just
yeah.
like hurt though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
Our
hurt, suffer, it's
interpretation
all the
is
same
hurt.
thing.
Yeah.
But the suffer, I think, draws from the thinking. The thinking is definitely causing the suffering.
Yep. No, because I'm sitting here going, wow, those dudes really thought it was Nagas. So, anyway, thank you everyone for listening. We will be back next week with a Week in Weird, followed by either something from David or I'm going to talk about the Denver airport. Mm-hmm. Because I've got some fucked up shit going on with that mess.
Whenever we, make it big and make money from it, we need to fly through the Denver airport.
Oh, I want to go. I want to see the
Look, whenever we make it big enough to where we're like meet David in person, that's where we're meeting. We're meeting at the Denver airport.
Oh, we're going to get Slurpees at the Denver airport. That's our goal, guys.
Will we finally figure out what's the deal with the airline food?
There is none because that fucker ruined it. If you haven't been listening to Behind the Bastards, there's a great one about the guy that ruined the airline industry. So anyway, if you would like to know more about the show or join our community on our Discord, you can find links to all that at supernatpod.rocks. You can find the show on social media at...
I picked up the
Mike, you played a ginger on me.
Yes, I did.
Damn. You can find us at... God, where can you find us on social media? You can find us on... What's the thing? Mastodon.
I was going to say the Masto Network.
Mastodon at supernatpod at weirdo.network. God, that sounds so good. Weirdo.network.
That's
It's like
so
a glove.
apropos.
It fits.
Yes, it's like a glove. You can also find us, if you look around, you can find me as Kevin or Kev from SuperNatPod. You can find us on Blue Sky and Threads. So just, look for that shit because we really needed more wasteful social media out there. Fucking Musk. So, that being said, we'll be back in a week. We'll see you next time, guys. You got anything you want to plug before we go? David?
Nothing particular. Just, make sure you listen to The Distraction Hole. That's our other show if you haven't listened to it yet. It's a lot of fun. The episode we record tomorrow, I believe it's my mandate. So
It is your mandate.
Yep. That's going to be fun.
Cool. And Mike, if you got anything you want to plug?
I'm bothering the cat, so that's about it.
I think Mike is content. Mike is, in fact, a professional and semi-professional cat botherer.
I'm not a
at
professional.
once.
I'm not being paid for it.
You're
I'm
out of work professional
I'm a
cat botherer.
I'm a cat bothering enthusiast.
Okay, that's fair. So, thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Until then, stay safe and stay frosty. Goodbye.
My cat keeps trying to unplug my cable.
Wow.
She's
Fucking
smart.
cats. God, what are you doing to Ginger?
Petting her.
Wow.
Maybe a little bit of scritching.
Okay. Fuck, man. Jeez.
She just, is very, very into it.
Or not.
No, she's staying right here, so she's into it.
Okay.